Yo, 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 people out there, today we're doing a show. The 6 things that you need to know about the forest that you may or may not know. We're going to take a walk together and then we're going to go for a deep dive into the forest and have a look around. So let's start. Number 1, first things first. Many people go into a forest with no map. So I suggest to you Google Maps, offline map. Note that word, ladies and gentlemen, an offline map. Offline map, download the map of the location, always go bigger than the area you're going for. And make sure you plot your journey before you go. Don't just turn up empty-handed, fully charged with your mobile devices. If you've got remote batteries, bring those too. Number 2, people don't think about this, and it's an obvious one when you think about it. Don't go starting a fire, especially in some of the places in the world, okay? So don't go flicking cigarettes, don't go starting fires that you shouldn't be doing. And if you do make a fire, make sure it's controlled. Make sure you've got a method to put it out and make sure you control that fire. Remember, fire needs 3 things. It needs fuel, let me think now. Fuel, air, and let me think, what else does it need? Fuel, air, and heat. There we go. So make sure you've got those 3 things sorted and just do responsibility. And the 3rd thing, always make sure you leave the forest how you started it. When you go to a forest, make sure that 1, you're not ruining it, upsetting it, or leaving a load of junk, and take away your rubbish. It seems so obvious. We all know that plastic takes a long time to decompose. Plastics are notorious, microplastics in the environment is something we have to be considerate about. So I implore to you, I beg you, to think about leave the place as it were, as you discovered it. So look at that beautiful forest. We're heading into the forest. We're going to go deep dive into it, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to show you forest and talk about the forest and talk about some of the things that I've learned. And if you've got any comments, leave them in there because I'm happy for that. 4th thing, be considerate of animals. And that means considerate of your own safety and considerate of their safety. And depending on where you are in the world, you should know about what kind of animals are there and how those animals behave. And more importantly, how they respond to human interaction, if should, in a lucky or unlucky circumstance, that you should engage with animals. So let me give you an example. We have 3 kinds of animals. We have monkeys, we have onoshishi, so wild boar, and wild boar can be pretty dangerous. I hear from some of the hunters that they fear the boar if you're having to deal with it. And boars can be a problem, especially if animals ain't managed. Or maybe the pyramid of predators is missing or been upset. So if there's no wolves, perhaps that could lead to more deer and, you know, that sort of thing. So I think it's very important to think and do your own research about the kinds of animals. Maybe the forest you're in doesn't have many animals apart from birds and obviously those sort of things. Or maybe you're in Africa and you're in the Congo and there's all kinds of animals, snakes. You have to do your research and you have to be prepared for your own safety. In some countries, we know there's bears. There's bears in Japan. There's the moon bear where we're based. Moon bear tends to be quite a solitary animal, but we have to be considerate about our safety and those animals' safety because we don't want any interactions that could lead to negative or detriment to any of those deer creatures of the deer world. The 5th thing is to make sure that we don't take plants. We don't disturb the natural habitat because forests like this one take a long time to grow. This forest is a perfect example of managing a forest. Often we think that a forest, you grow, you leave everything to grow, and this is actually a unnatural forest. It consists of Japanese cedar, which is a very straight tree because it's great for building things. And this tree, it tends to become a monoculture. So what do I mean to that? I mean, there's 1 or 2 trees and that's it in the forest. There's not much for the animals to eat. The animals will then come and pester us humans, tear our gardens apart, jump over the hill, no natural predators. So they come and eat. And what we've had to do here is trim back some of this forest because actually, and you can see all the trimmings of the trees around. This might look like you know, oh, we're just tearing the forest down, but for every 3 tree, the 4th tree, on average, gets felled. So that means more light can come onto the surface and allow other trees and other plants to grow. Now, a little bit of history in Japan post-war 1940. A lot of the old people tell me that the Japanese emperor, he said, everyone plant trees and we'll give you tax subsidies, i.e. we'll make you pay less tax by growing trees. So everyone and their friend and their cat down the road ended up growing trees. The same tree, one type of tree, and actually a second one, hinoki or cypress. We're in a situation now where we've got too many of the same trees. Our job is to help bring back the natural dynamic diversification of the tree species, and we do that by felling some of the trees and allowing fresh new trees, and we plant new trees. So we're in the stage of actually bringing this back to equilibrium and allowing nature to take over. And my sixth point, what was number 6 again? Hang on a minute, let me think. Observe the forest. We can learn so much about observation. We look at the plants, we look at the types of plants that are growing, we look at the kinds of animals that are inhabiting those natural locations, and we can learn so much from just what's there. It's teaching us. It's saying, hey, look at me, I will show you what I am. And we're very lucky in that regard because we can see there's ground plants, we can see there's tendril plants growing up trees, we can see ferns, we can see different kinds of fungi that are emerging, and it's very clear to see after a while there's a system at play. And this is important about our 6th point here, is that if a human tends to it and starts to look after it, then the human needs to look after it. Or you can allow nature to take over. Nature will look after itself. It's very akin to looking after an animal. If you take care of an animal and you have to feed it, you have to water it, change its bedding, all that kind of stuff, all that hassle. But if you allow nature to take over, it's one less job to do. And to do that, you need to set it up, you need to get it prepared, and you need to let nature take care of it. And that's a great philosophical statement in itself. Often humans, we feel like we need to meddle with everything. We need to feel, yeah, we're gonna take care of it, we're gonna take it over, but it ends up being our responsibility to deal with it in the end. And that's not necessarily a bad thing to have responsibility of it. There's nothing wrong at all. There's a word for it. Animal husbandry. Well, we can take that word and term further, and we can say plant husbandry, tree husbandry, forest husbandry, the process of looking after something, caring for it. So let's just take a look here for a moment. So we're up against an embankment, and let's use our observation eyes to assess what's going on. We've got a flat rocky surface going up at quite a high peak. There's probably a risk. We can see, if we look around at some of the rock that's emerging, we can see erosion. Now, if we cut all these trees down here, we could give ourselves a bit of a problem. Again, we're not letting nature take care of it. We decide to come and deal with it. Now, if we do that, we're then going to have the problem where we're then going to have potential erosion issues. And once that gets back to the bare rock, boy, you're going to have a struggle getting more trees to ever grow into that embankment again, right? But we can see different species. We can see ferns, we can see some of these crawler plants. And remember, also, everything's dictated by the seasons. We live by the seasons. It's the natural, cyclic nature of the universe and the way that plants and creatures, even ourselves, live by, whether we're aware of it or know about it. And we can see some water sources here. We can see water emanating from the side of the hill coming out. So all of these things we have to be considerate about. And obviously they haven't cut these trees down. They've cut one or two there that you can see that fell from the top there. But again, the forestry people are very self-aware, and we can see this bare rock. There's lots of bare rock behind me there. Now, the sugi, the Japanese cedar, tends to be a very low rooting tree. It's not like a sakura, a blossom tree, or like an English oak, or one of these trees where it's got really deep roots. Often when you look at a plant, above is so below, so its root system tends to follow the same as what is in its leaves in the top, yeah? But sometimes that rule doesn't apply for many plants, right? And they tend to be like rhizomes. They shoot out at the side, gripping onto what they do, you know, the rocks and stuff around them. But here, just looking, you can see the natural falling of some plants, of trees, small trees where they've tried to root on there and they haven't been able to root. Erosion is a significant problem for many places around the world. And there's many techniques out there. If you've got any information or if you've found something interesting, pop it in the link. Let's share the information, right? But erosion is a massive problem. We tend to come in, and I'm going to show a clip in a moment. We'll go back and have a look at that, where we're going to look the challenge of erosion. Now, forests don't just magically appear like this one day. Seeds are shared, pollinators come, animals take seeds and distribute those seeds through their drop-ins, whatnot, and you know, seeds fall down, seeds are dug into the mud, and everything's competing. So all of these plants are competing for light and nutrients from the soil and the water, yeah? And depending on the quality of those three elements, you know, the water, nutrients and sunlight, will dictate how that plant competes in that specific area where it's based, yeah? Obviously, you've got considerations like acidity of the soil. So, for instance, here, it tends to be very acidic because of the sugi trees, the Japanese cedar. We've got a beautiful view. I don't know if you can see it beneath me there, but we're quite high, about 637 metres up. And we have monkeys and animals around here. These monkeys, there's no wolves in Japan. They got rid of their wolves, so they're apex predator pyramid of animals that eat other animals that eat other animals and keep the whole thing in equilibrium has been disrupted by human involvement. Now, obviously, there's an argument to be had about having loads of wolves running around. We all know how problematic wolves can be. But having said that, there is something interesting about the food pyramid of animals and how it keeps the system of animals and the natural environment around them. I think it's something really worth considering. England is a prime example. As I understand the last research, don't quote me on it, England has around 3% forest.
Actually,
we used to have more, but we cut it down to make galleons and boats and things like that for the Navy in the 17th century and onwards. Now, as I understand it from the last research I did, don't quote me on it, but you can check it and confirm it and chuck it in the comments below, Japan has 70% forests. Now, of that 70% forests, a significant portion is sugis, and sugis actually cause a lot of problems with allergies. A lot of people have problems with allergies, a lot of pollen comes down. But if you actually look at the floor behind me, you can see the kind of chaff, the drop-ins of the sugi trees. It creates this kind of fluff on the floor. And this fluff tends to be very acidic, turns the soil acidic, and it causes a big problem with landslides as it can pile up on the edge of the embankments, and then when there's a big distribution of water, that comes off over the edge and you've got a landslide exacerbated by erosion of places, because a lot of these trees are really holding on to the soil and the ground around them, and that's a good thing, because I suppose I'm going to stick a 7th point in here for anyone that managed to get this far in the video, but there's something really special, and it's soil. Soil is the basis of all plants. A collection of biomass built up with detritus, fungi, billions of different living things living in soil. Soil is almost the meat of the planet Earth, of the planet, and if it wasn't for that soil, we wouldn't have any of this beautiful forests around the world. Our world would be completely different. And just to prove how important soil is, take a look at Mars. Mars has no soil. It has rock, but no soil. And that's going to be a very interesting point as the next 200 years occur, how we put soil on Mars. Now, there's a couple of ways we could do that. That's another video, and we will talk about that. If you've got any ideas, throw it in the comments. We use it for future stuff. But going back to our beautiful forests and the importance of soil, soil is the living gravy of plant matter. If it wasn't for soil, things fall onto the ground. Fungi and the decay of matter. Decay and fungi are something that have existed long before plants. You know, you could imagine on planet Earth when it was rocky and there was waters and before animals and that sort of thing, the first complex fungi, bacterias that broke down matter, organic matter, and reorganized it and freed up its nutrient elements. So soil is a real health barometer of a forest. And usually soil in forests tends to be pretty cool depending on the plants and the trees that are there. This soil, for instance, looks pretty good. It's pretty acidic. Remember, it's pretty blasted at the moment. We've had a lot of felling of there was too many trees. Soil is so important. Soil is the barometer for how we check the health of any garden. The darker it is, the richer it is. It's got biomass. It's biologically living dirt. Dirt is good. You know, often we're taught in modern society that dirt is bad, But dirt is the basis of plants. You know, they need nutrients, they need to be able to get oxygen down into the roots, they need healthy, fluffy... Oh, just talking about it is getting me excited about it. We love good soil, good mud, and compost. You know, this is natural composting in action. We've got broken bits of leaves and twigs and things, and it's all breaking down, and it's moist, and there's bacteria growing on it, and there's little creatures living in there and burrowing in and eating it and munching it away. Oh, let's have a look. Now, this is the forest that's cleared. We call this the lower forest. The lower forest starts down that lane, goes back behind the Kominka, all the way there. We call this the lower forest, which is cypress, and suyu, which is the Japanese cedar. We're going to be introducing some new trees in here. Once this mission is complete, we're going to go on a massive terraforming mission. I'm interested what plants we should grow here. If you've got an idea what trees we should be growing, I'm interested. You can make sure you're part of this as a community. We can see what we can do, see how we can terraform this place. Again, let us enjoy the splendour of Mother Nature in all its glory. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it rocking, keep it rolling.